Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to discuss the next topic of our lecture series on research methodology, that is data collection techniques in qualitative research. This is Dr. Ram Singh. Let's move ahead. So when we talk about qualitative research, in qualitative research the data is collected basically by direct methods or indirect methods. So when we talk about direct methods, basically it is a one type of qualitative research in which the purpose of the projects are disclosed to the respondents or is obvious given the nature of the interview. So in that approach we make clear the purpose of our research to the respondents, right? That is non-disguise, right? Another way of collecting data in qualitative research is your indirect approach or disguised approach, where a type of research in which the purpose of the project is disguised from the respondent. We don't tell anything about the purpose of our research to the respondents. So when we talk about direct methods, so in direct methods we are having focus group interview and depth interviews, while in indirect method we use various kind of projective techniques that can be association techniques, that can be completion techniques, that can be construction techniques, that can be expressive techniques. So let's see about each of these techniques in detail. So first of all, the first direct technique is focus group interviews, right? So in focus group what happened, it is an interview conducted by a trained moderator among a small group of respondents in an unstructured and natural manner. So of course in this type of research the focus group of around 8 to 12 people is formulated, and this group consists of the homogeneous respondents, right? They are made to give their opinion, give their responses in the relaxed informal atmosphere, and the time duration of this kind of interviews may lie from 1 to 3 hours, and here their responses are recorded using audio cassettes or video tapes or mobile phones whatsoever. And a moderator, of course here moderator plays a very important role. There is a moderator who asks the questions, who discuss, basically not ask the question directly but discusses on the various aspects of the issues involved in the research. So here it is very much important that moderators should have the very good observation, interpersonal and communication skill, right? So all the things depends on, or you can say effectiveness of this focus group interview depends on the quality of moderator. He plays a very important role in focus group research. So this is one of the technique of collecting data by the help of focus group interviews. So I think it is very much clear to you. Now these are the advantages, some of the advantages of the focus group. It results in richness of data, there is a versatility is there, and of course it will be very much helpful when we conduct studies on children or some kind of professionals, right, in order to know their responses. So it is the focus group is very much effective manner to collect data from the kind of the special respondents. Then of course it involves the direct involvement of managers. It is easily understandable, flexibility in covering topic, may uncover unanticipated ideas that are important. When you make discussion with your respondents, it results in exploring some new ideas from them. So of course it will give you some new insight about the topic. Then it again helps in redefining or defining clearly the constructs for the research, and it results in the group synergy. Of course when the discussion is conducted in the group, so of course the overall it is having the positive impact on the research. It gives the result, it gives the result in a synergy, right? The effectiveness of the research becomes more as it is having the synergic effect of the all of the members of the groups. Now some of the disadvantages is there. Of course, we take the small sample size, so it is very much difficult to generalize the result, right? Then there may be the chances of biasness in selecting the respondents, and it can be misused, right? Of course, when we talk about focus groups, so it can be misused, it cannot be the replacement of quantitative research, right? So of course, if if we are using this method, it should be used very clearly. It should be used with a very clear objective of the research, right? Then again, the results of such kind of discussions depends on the interpretation made by the moderator or the researcher. So what kind of the interpretation he is making? There is, as you know, in quantitative research, there is a evidence, in terms of what we have already discussed. In quantitative research, we are having a certain kind of data analysis tools, and the results are on the basis of that statistical techniques. But here, the results is totally based on the interpretation made by the researcher, right? Then of course, cost per respondent is high as compared to survey. If we talk about survey, so of course they are cheaper than this focus group interview, and results depend on the skill of the moderator in running the group analysis. So of course, very much important that how much the moderator is effective in conducting such kind of interviews. And of course, maybe the response in the moment may change over the time. The response that a particular group of individuals are giving, it may change with the time, right? And of course, it is many times it is very much difficult to take the professional respondents, right? To include the professional respondents, it is very much difficult for the researcher. So many times it happens that of course such kind of techniques may lose its importance. Now another technique is in-depth interview. Now in-depth interview, it is an unstructured direct personal interview in which a single respondent is probed by the highly skilled interviewer to uncover underlying motivation, beliefs, attitude and feelings about the topic. So of course, this is again one of the direct method of collecting data from the respondents by making the in-depth interview of each and every respondent, right? And by the help of this interview, a researcher can know the various aspects about the motivation, about the beliefs, about the attitude, about the feelings of the respondent for the topic of the research. Then it consists of around 30 minutes to more than 1 hour. The interview can take place from 30 to 1 hour or more than 1 hour. And after asking the initial question, the interview uses an unstructured questions. Now in this type of depth interview, we use the various types of techniques in conducting this depth interview. So let's see. The first is laddering. Right. Now laddering means that stepping up, right? So in this kind of technique, a line of questions proceeds from product characteristics to the user characteristics, right? We try to understand this concept, that what I want to say, that question proceeds from product characteristics to user characteristics. For example, we start our questions from the attributes of the product, right? Then of course, when we ask the respondent, we initially start asking the question. We ask them that what features, let's say we are saying that what features you prefer while purchasing the car. So of course, if we say safety, of course it is safety of the product, related to safety, the attributes related to the product, right? Then after that, this attribute, another step is consequences of using the particular product in context of that particular attributes. If he is saying, respondent is saying that I will prefer safety in the car, right? So consequences will be, yes, he will feel more safe while driving, right? He feel safe while driving. If he is looking for the safe car, if he is looking for the safety in the car, so of course he feels safe while driving the cars. So this will be the consequences of using that particular product, of course. And after that we talk about values, that how he relate that particular product to himself or his family members. So we can see that here the product characteristics, and we move towards the user characteristics. User characteristic means now when he purchase the car, then he start or while he go for making the selection of the model, and he consider the safety as one of the attributes for selecting the car. And of course once he makes the purchase, he will look for the consequences, yes, that it will result in providing me more safe driving, right? And ultimately he relate with his personal characteristics, means that he relate it with its family members, with himself, that yes, this product is beneficial for my family as well as for me, as it provides safety to me and my family. So we can see that how the attribute, consequences, and finally the values make the hierarchy, right? So it starts with, in laddering we starts with product characteristics and move towards user characteristics. Then another method is hidden issue questioning. Many times it happens that when we conduct research on such kind of topics which are sensitive in nature, right? For example, you can take example of live-in relation, right? Or you can take example of smoking habits, right? So in such kind of cases, respondents might be possible, respondents may not give you answers directly. So what happens in such kind of case, the researcher go for this technique, that is hidden issue questioning. It attempts to locate personal spot related to the deeply felt concern, that not directly we are asking, but yes, in a hidden way we try to ask them that how they feel. We are not saying that whether are you smoke or not. No, we are not saying this. We will ask some other question, but yes, the motive is that we want to know about the thinking of the respondent, about the opinion of the respondents for smoking. It is one of the example that I have taken. So when we conduct research in such kind of area which are very much sensitive, where the respondents are not open to answer, we use hidden issues questioning technique. Then another is symbolic analysis. Here symbols meaning of object analyzed by comparing them with their opposites. So in this kind of technique, what we do in symbolic analysis, we provide them the option. If it is not in your car, right? Let's say if I ask them, if you are not having the rear view camera in your car, how you feel like, right? So of course here symbolic meaning object analyzed by comparing with them with their opposites, that what the respondents think of, how much the importance he is giving to the particular attributes of the car, right? If there is a rear view camera, if I can ask that how you feel for the rear view camera, he can say yes, I am satisfied. But how much importance of that particular attributes for the customer, it can be analyzed by the help of this symbolic analysis, where we ask him how you feel if there is no rear view camera in your car. So of course we give him something opposite what we want to know, but we analyze by the help of comparing his responses with their opposites, right? Now move on the next type of techniques, group of techniques, that is indirect techniques. We also called them projective techniques. So here an structure in that form of questionings that encourage the respondent to project their underlying motivation, belief, attitudes or feelings regarding the concern issues. Here respondents is presented with the stimuli and asked to respond with the first thing that comes in their mind, right? For example, you can ask respondents that what you feel like, what you feel like when it comes to the soft drinks, right? So the first name that comes in the mind, of course, any brand of the of course he will tell you about any brand, name of the brand. So of course it is somewhere you can know that how it relate this brand, or how much he is loyal to the particular brand. By the help of this association technique you can know. Then completion technique, a technique in which it requires a respondent to complete an incomplete stimuli or the situation. In this case, some kind of story or some kind of incident is given to the respondents, and we make them to complete, right? So when we make them to complete it, ultimately, of course, when the respondent complete the story or respondent complete the stimuli or the situation, so of course he complete in the light of his own knowledge of his on the basis of his own knowledge, on the basis of his own beliefs, on the basis of his own values, so that we can know that what kind of the motivation, what kind of belief, what kind of value that particular researcher is having. Then another is construction technique. Here respondent required to construct a response in the form of a story, dialogues or description. In that case, let me clear the difference between both techniques. In here we provide them incomplete sentence, incomplete story, incomplete situation, incomplete stimuli, right? But in this case we make them to write a story or the description on of the particular picture or the particular picture or the particular cartoon, and make them to tell what they are seeing in such kind of situation or seeing in that particular picture. They are made to describe. For example, we in HR we use thematic appreciation test, and it is one of the construction technique, that is picture response technique. Here respondent is shown a picture and asked to tell a story about it, right? So what kind of perception he is having, we can come to know, right? What kind of perception he is having, we can come to know. For example, you can take example, we have provided the them the story, we have provided them the scene where the there is a car, there is a doctor, right? There is a car which is having accident, right? Now your respondent may be doctor, your respondent may be policeman, your respondent may be mechanic, right? Now in the situation of the accidental car, if we ask doctor that what he find in this situation, of course he will tell you that he is looking for the injury to the driver or the people who are sitting in the car. Of course, yes. But at the same point of time, if you make the same picture to the mechanic, motor mechanic, and you say that what you are seeing in this picture of this car accident, so of course he will tell you about the damage occurs to the car, not he will concern about the injury to the driver or the passengers. Why? Because doctor is, of course, his experience, his values and beliefs are somewhere related with the medical line, and of course he will be more concerned about the people. On the other hand, at the same time, the situation is the same, but yes, mechanic is very much focused on the damage to the car, right? Let's say at the same time, if you make this picture to the policeman and you show to him that what you think on this kind of scene, so of course he will tell you that yes, the focus will be that who will be the convict, who conducts this accident, right? So of course it will depend. We can see from this example that situation is the same, picture is the same, that accidental car is there, and the three people, doctor, mechanic and policeman, are different, but they perceive the same situation in a different manner, right? So this is how I have just taken the example. This is how the thematic appreciation test or the this picture response techniques can be used to know the values or the beliefs of the respondent for the particular situation. Then another technique is cartoon. Here the cartoon character is shown in a specific situation related to the problem, and respondents are asked to indicate the dialogues that cartoon character might make in response to the comments of other characters. So this is a technique also known as balloon techniques. So you must have seen in the cartoon there the balloons are there. So in this kind of technique, the one cartoon is asking some question, and the respondent is made to fill the answer of that particular question in this given balloon, so that of course it will again explore that how the respondent thinking about the particular situation or thinking about the particular topic. Then another technique is indirect technique, expressive technique. In expressive technique, respondents are presented with a verbal or the visual situation and asked to relate his own feelings and attitude of other people to the situation. So here we use two kind of techniques, that is role playing and third person technique. In role playing, respondents are asked to play the role or assume the behavior of someone else. So basically here focus is on what? Here the focus is on relating the feelings and attitudes of other people to the situation. The focus is that how respondent relate himself with the feelings and attitudes of other people for the particular situation. So the first method is role playing, where where the respondents are made to play the role of some other person, right? Then another method is third person technique. The respondent presented with a verbal or the visual situation, and the respondent asked to relate the beliefs and attitude of a third person rather than directly expressing personal belief attitude. This third person may be a friend, neighbor, colleagues, or typical person. So here we don't say that what you think, but we say that what your neighbor may think, what your friend may think for the particular situation. So of course he will be more comfortable in giving the responses on the name of the third person as compared to the responses given by on his own name, right? Many times what I have just discussed, that sensitive research areas, respondents are not agreed to answer by his own, right? So this technique can be used. Now coming on the precautions, so this is all about the techniques that data collection techniques that we use in conducting qualitative research. What I have seen over here in the first slide, that is direct techniques and indirect techniques. In direct techniques we are having focus group and depth interview, and in direct techniques we have the various positive techniques like association technique, completion techniques, construction techniques, and expressive techniques, and we have discussed all these techniques in detail. So I hope that it is very much clear to all these techniques, clear to you. Then now at last we will discuss about the various precautions that we should take while conducting the qualitative research. First of all, that of course it is one of the expensive mode of conducting research. It results in exhaustion of your resources as well as your time. So of course we have to take care while conducting this kind of research, because of course they will be more costlier than the other mode of research as compared to the quantitative research. Then here we should keep in mind that it is not the size of the sample matters. Here it is what matters, it is that what you do with the data. So here the size is hardly matter. Size doesn't matter, but the size of the sample doesn't matter, but the matter is that how you interpret the results, how you report the results, right? It is very much important in qualitative research. Then you should be very clear about the research, right? Then before starting this kind of research, you should write down your foggy idea that is not clear, but yes, you should jot down those ideas and move towards making them specific, right? And of course at initial level we are not having a clear picture about the research, that what we want to do and what we are going to do. But of course you should start with the foggy ideas from the scraps, and you should be very much specific to the particular topic while conducting qualitative research. And it requires concentrating on most important issues rather than others, and you should start writing specific question you want to answer so that you get specific responses. So this is all about the precautions that we should take while conducting qualitative research. So thank you students. In the next lecture we will discuss about the very popular techniques of qualitative research, that is Harvey Ball analysis. So please like, share and subscribe my channel. Have a great day ahead. Thank you.